summer and spring keep coming to mind, and as you think of summer, automatically I think of the state fair. Well, as you walk into the state fair, you're surrounded by smells of livestock, different vendors, excuse me, but one of my favorite smells is the roasted corn. So as I gander up over to the huge grill of countless roasted husks, I grab my buttery, savory little ear of corn, and as I take a bite, I have to wonder, where exactly did this come from and how did it get into my hands? Well, little do most of us know, that corn was more specifically genetically modified to how it tastes and the number of corn that is able to feed an entire state fair. Genetic modification has actually been a highly debated topic throughout the scientific world. Excuse me. More importantly, to understand this, we need to define what the difference between biotechnology and genetic modification is. Biotechnology refers to the use of these changed plants, animals, bacteria in our everyday lives for food such as beer and cheese. However, genetic modification is how those organisms come to be through choosing the specific traits in their DNA to compile a final organism which is considered genetically modified. Scientific business aside, this has been up for debate because of the many different opinions on benefits and advantages versus adverse effects on our lives as a whole. Excuse me. We've been using genetic modification for millennia through different farm practices and choosing the specific traits in crops that work best for our land and best for what the purpose of growing that crop is. As farmers begin to choose their parent plants, they're able to modify their offspring. This has also been manipulated by the fermentation industry by choosing different strands of yeast to help produce a better beer or a better final product. However, in the last 50 years, technologies and scientific knowledge has increased so much so that we are now able to refer to the genetic modification as what we know today. According to the Journal of Toxicology and Environmental Health, scientists who are able to identify specific traits from strands of DNA throughout organisms can use such practices of microbial metabolism, kind of a long word, pretty much for the digestion of petroleum spills and use them to the advantage of the population as a whole. Even though these practices have been seen as trade secrets for a long time, technology has allowed us to make it a profitable industry, which has people's differing opinions on it as well. Today, millions of farmers have used GMOs throughout their crop yields, and according to the Human Genome Project Informative Piece on GMOs, 97% of transgenic or genetically modified crops are used here in the U.S., India, China, South Africa, Argentina, Brazil, and Paraguay. So that's a lot of genetically modified organisms being put into the larger market. Obviously, since so much of that is being used, there are a number of advantages. GMOs have historically nutritional values, or higher nutritional values and greater crop yields for developing countries. Those areas that are tight on resources as a whole are able to generate a bigger bang for their buck, pretty much, and provide a better product for their population. More specifically, golden rice, which is one of the GMOs for that certain strain of rice, has the human amount of vitamin A in one serving of rice per person. Also taste and quality, as I mentioned, with the sweet corn and the flavor saver example, or flavor saver tomato example, allows scientists to manipulate the ripening process of these tomatoes for better transport and ripening of marketable tomatoes so that the consumer gets what they see as the freshest product. Also, GMOs allow scientists to manipulate the reproductive systems for different populations as in fish hatcheries, where they can change the reproductive system of certain species of fish so that they can quicken the process and produce more fish in a shorter amount of time. Also, the obvious disease and cold resistance, anti-freeze genes allow crops to stay better under colder conditions, as well as herbicide and pesticide-resistant plants called Roundup Ready GMOs, where they are resistant to the herbicides, killing the weeds surrounding them, but also flourishing in that same environment. As you can see, there are a number of reasons to keep GMOs around. However, there are many adverse opinions as far as human health effects. Many people believe that there are so many unknowns as far as GMOs is concerned that we can't necessarily implement these GMOs on a broader scale for fear of what it might do to our personal health later. For example, genetically modified corn product not approved for human consumption was actually found in the Starlink fiasco, where people were actually ingesting this corn through taco shells and different farm elevators around the country. Also ecological effects. Vandana Shiva, who's one of the leading bioethics activists in the world, is a huge advocate for biodiversity within ecosystems, and by incorporating GMOs into huge monoculture agriculture, we will be eliminating a number of different species throughout those environments. Also, food production is now controlled by mega corporations like Cargill and Monsanto, who have developed these technologies and then sold them directly to farmers, monopolizing the entire industry. So whether you want to see it as a benefit or a loss on your part and how it affects you directly, we can't ignore the fact that GMOs are now a part of our lives. And all sources agree that more research is necessary in order to better technologies and our knowledge of this. But just think the next time you take a bite of your favorite fair treat, mine with roasted corn, just think about where it actually came from and how it actually got into your hands. Thank you.
Good.